How's it going, everyone? It is Friday, June 21st, 2024. Let's take a look at the picks from the prior video. I gave two picks here. First was a Wolf day trade. So I'm taking a look at that first. So when I took Wolf later in the day, I took it around 210. I got a pullback right here at 2360. And the market at 210 was pretty weak. Got it in advance right here of SPY. We had just hit VWAP over here. We're sort of resisting it. My thesis confirms. And then we get a pretty decent pop later towards the end of the day on Wolf. So I was still bearish on the stock. I was still bearish on the market. So this was the one instance where I actually held my day trade overnight, and I took profits on the morning, a little before the low of the day. So I took a small amount of profit on that stock. So I think the clue with Wolf was that really I took a trade pretty late in the day, which is why I had to do maybe a little more unconventional maneuver. If you get in a little bit earlier, right, I think this 1220 candle was the key on the stock. It broke down through this major area over here, and even 1145, honestly, started to break down. The market was going to be pretty weak. We had this bullish divergence over here. Then we get this nice bear across at 1145, 1150, and then this is a nice place to take a short on Wolf. And even if you get out over here, still able to get out for some pretty nice profits. So Wolf was a decent win. And then because I took it a little bit later in the day, that's why I decided to hold it overnight. All right. Next one here is AEO. So AEO, I took yesterday at 1975, bounced off this level right here, had a nice LRSI across, some relative weakness. That's what I wanted to see. The market was starting to soften over here. I thought we're extended in the bull cycle, so I thought we'd have a pretty good chance to go down on the next bear cycle. So because of that, I decided to take it short at the end of the day, and I believed it had a good chance of closing below that level at the end of the day. Now, it did close below that level, but you can see today it broke above that level. Market has gapped down. Stock hasn't really gapped down as much. Flat open here, kind of rallied up, and it is chopping around a little bit here. We have a nice little double top, but stock is pulling back, and one thing that is helpful to see is that we were in this bearish channel over here, broke the downside of the channel, also came back and tested the bottom of this channel before going back. So that's sort of another piece of D1 resistance I can lean on. The other fact is that 200 SMA is over there, so I'm not too worried about that. And we have this horizontal resistance coming into play as well. We haven't really confirmed above this level, in my opinion. You can see we broke through here. We're getting some red candles. We haven't really quite seen the selling or the strong buying to this level that would get me a little bit more worried. So AEO, we're still holding on to it. We're not taking a ton of heat on this trade so far because we got a nice entry point. My target, a nice 1 ATR move. So if I can get around $19, that's my target on this trade. Then that should be a good amount of money. On this acceleration, I am looking to see if we do see some sort of selling climax over here when we break the downside of this channel. I'm also looking to see if this stock kind of just compresses or hugs close to the low or the close. That tells me that sellers are still engaged in the stock. So right now, not a ton of action needed to be taken on this trade. And if you're always in doubt, just make sure to zoom out a little bit, see what's going on here We got a grind lower, kind of a bounce here, big drop, and now we're getting a bounce. And this has been a fairly weak bounce. Hasn't been strong, steady, stacked price action. We've got some red candles coming into play over here. Sellers are in this bounce and they're lurking. So just be patient. Still like AEO right now. All right. Next pick over here is Unity. So took some partial profits yesterday. Stock is continuing its journey down. Today may be a day of pause. If we look on the M30 chart, again, zoom out a little bit on Unity. Big drop, kind of compresses, hugs this level a little bit. Once we break this level, we get the next big drop. So all these buyers here, these guys compressing, these are going to be fuel for that next leg lower until I see some heavy buying from institutions where they think that we've reached a fair price. Not really very worried about Unity. Yeah, I mean, look at this move by the signal, by the way. This is a really nice move that it caught on that point. So still like it, and this is going to be a exercise in trusting very strong price action, right? We really have no reason to have exited this trade at all. Scaling out has been mentally easier for me, but look what happened from the 13th, right? So here's the 13th. Market has been rallying, or at least is slightly up from that point from here to now. This stock has been grinding down lower. So our bias has been right. As long as the market doesn't move too much, this stock should continue to drift lower. The only thing that might change is if there's something much stronger in the market, like some sort of nice pullback over here, perhaps on the 31st. You can see here's how that stock reacted to that hammer, by the way. There's some sort of pullback, or the stock starts to compress for a while, right? This is a small compression, then we get the next leg lower. If we compress for a little bit too long, that's when we'll also be starting to take gains. So there's a couple scenarios. One, we get like a huge selling climax, right? Like a massive gap down or a really, really long red candle. That's when I would take profits. Second is a long compression, maybe 2 weeks or so where we don't really move. Then I can get out of the trade. The third thing would be we get a decent bounce and heavy volume. I know that sellers are going to come back down, at least retest the prior level. And I'd look to get out of the trade over there. So those are kind of my 3 exit criteria or 3 warning signs. But until I see that, I'm going to stick with the trade. All right, market buys for today. So yesterday, this candle's a little bit wonky over here because we did have a bit of a tail. But our D1 buys is still mildly bullish on a longer term basis. On a shorter term basis, we are a little bit more neutral. I don't want to say mildly bearish because I don't have the price action, but I'm anticipating a change to be mildly bearish is the best way I can put it. So that's why I am neutral. But until that, until we actually see some sort of selling on that, I won't actually shift my bias over there. And nothing has really changed too much in this past week in terms of major news or technical events. Today is triple witching, so we could see some volume coming into play, some volatility. But not a crazy week considering it was also not a lot of news. Holiday in the middle of the week, and so we had a couple of dead days that sandwiched that holiday. So, the theme I've been saying is just keeping it light, not really overloading on too much over here. And if we look at our positions, oops, that's the wrong one here. We're going to take off Wolf. So we have U and AEO. We have 2 really nice shorts, and that's it. So M5 bias. Well, yesterday we had this mildly bearish trend day, I would say. Fairly choppy and chunky. You can see there's some choppy price action. Once we dissuaded all of these buyers, we kind of broke into the gap over here. We got a kind of choppy follow through down. We did get a nice bounce, a nice long red candle on this 140 bar. We got a bit of a bounce, stalled at VWAP, and then we kind of died for the rest of the day. So there were some trades to be taken here, but I think this was a more difficult day than most. Today we gap down, and the key is that we're at this 544 level, which if you zoom out is the compression level from the prior all-time high back on the 12th. So we're in this compression zone. We held this level. We broke out. We're pulling back, and now we're testing this level again. So the market hasn't really decided which way it's going to go from this level, and it's in an interesting scenario. We're kind of right into this gap, right at the low of the day, so there is some overhead resistance over here, but we also have some support at this juncture at 544, as well as some support at the 8 EMA around 543. So it's really sandwiched between these two levels, and it's going to break out one way or the other. I'm just not really quite sure what way. So because it's sandwiched, we have to be pretty patient. There's not a lot of stuff that is setting up today, and I'm going to go over a couple of tags that I like. And we'll see if there's any shorts setting up here. So I do like trip.com. This is a nice little breakdown over here. Nice long red candle holding the gains. Market is looking to rally up here, though. We have a bearish divergence. So I do like Trip. That's a nice setup over here. In terms of some of the other picks, on the long side, Google was a very nice long, breaking out of this kind of compression over here, and has room until 181, maybe 182. But it has to get through this level right now. So if it can get through this level, we're in a kind of bit of a compression zone here. So if we're able to get through that level, then I'll be interested in getting long on Google. GL was decent. Really weird stock after this giant news information release. But after that, it's kind of just been, slowly drifting around here. It's an okay setup. Okay D1. Not the best M5. You can see how gappy it is between bars. It just tells you that it's not as liquid. Excuse me. EAT also looked good early in the day. Now it's just kind of doing nothing. Again, not super liquid. KO is looking good, but it's pulled back a little bit here. I think the stock that I would trade would probably be TJX today. And, it's not anything stellar price action wise, but here's what I like. So market is going down. This stock is grinding up higher. And this stock also does have this sort of pullback here, right? It pulls back to this level, then it grinds higher, pull back, then it grinds higher. So I like this grind higher and this pullback on the stock. I think there's a good chance you can take some money on here, maybe 20 cents on the stock. So not a huge ATR mover by any means, but there is certainly, I think, a play to be made here. If you get maybe closer to the bottom of this move, you can see how we have this stair-step sort of price action. And there's usually support coming around at this level, 109, 110. There's an upward sloping trend line coming into play over here. And it looks like we're sort of in this wider bullish channel. So TJX, not too bad. HD is okay. Kind of breaking above here. Has some room until some of the gap over here. Here's a low from the gap. Here's the close from the gap. So it could be either one of those depending on how you see them. It looks good, but it's just been really just, not a ton of movement. So there's not a ton of trades that are setting up. I think the two picks that I'm going to give today, first is going to be as a long Google. If it can break through its high of the day, then that would be a nice long setup. And then as a short opportunity, I would go with Trip. And I actually wouldn't even mind taking that right now, to be quite honest. So yeah, those are the trades for the day. Google long, Trip short, both day trades. All right. And that is it for today. And we'll take a look at AEO and U on Monday.